the juvenile justice system, and we're talking to Judge Andrew AShookoff and Mr. EJorden1 from the Metropolitan Juvenile Justice System. And Judge, before we had our second break, we sort of promised that we'd like to talk about the mentoring programs and some of the specific programs that you have over the last 5 or 6 minutes that you have in your office or in the system that our audience might be able to assist you in, might be able to volunteer or do whatever you believe.
Great. Let me just give you, first, there's a number to call that to speak with our volunteer coordinator who can talk about the range of things that we're doing, because it's beyond what we have time to talk. The number is 862-8011, and that person is there on staff to help coordinate with volunteers. In terms of mentoring, we have programs that are focused on elementary school kids, the kids that Earl's working with, who need someone to help tutor, to help spend time with, to praise when they're doing well. There are excellent ways in which mentors can work with these kids. We also have some mentoring opportunities to work with older kids. Mentoring opportunities to hook up with kids who are in foster care and who need an advocate to make sure that their cases are handled properly. We are also looking, that's kind of a mentoring approach. We're also really in desperate need in this community for more foster and adoptive homes, especially for African American kids who increasingly, because of the toll that crack cocaine has taken on the community, parents who are have dropped out of their kids' lives and can't be there for their kids. It is very important for children to be able to be raised in families, and we look to the biological family first. But if we can't do that, it's so important to have another family, a substitute family. And I am absolutely certain that within the congregations of our community, there are homes for these dependent and neglected children who need to be part of a family, and that's a very important need that we have. When we talked about community service work, one of the things we're looking for is opportunities for kids to do community service work to benefit neighborhoods and also give them a chance to meet and work with adults in the community who we want them hanging out with. So if your church group or let's say your church group has a Habitat for Humanity project, we'd love to give you some free labor to help with that, or a cleanup, or some project that you would like help with. Part of it is to help the kids pay back for what they've done wrong. The other, though, is to help them get that feeling of connectedness with the neighborhood. A number of the kids that went and did work at Two Rivers Park building the playground showed up one day, and we said, hey, you've completed your public service work hours. And they said, well, yeah, we know, but we want to help finish that part. And that's the message, that working with that kind of spirit that the adults who are doing the positive things in the community can really catch kids with. And that's very, very important. So those are a number of the opportunities and many others, and we really need everybody's help. This is something where it's got to be a community effort if we're going to address these problems, and especially the early problems with young kids and young parents. Those are things where everyone in the community has a skill, a talent that can really make a difference in the life of a child, and therefore in the future of this community, as Earl was talking about.
Judge, I think you mentioned the impact that crack cocaine is having on what you're doing. We've also had people who talked about substance abuse, and they too mentioned crack cocaine. Why don't you say something about that to our audience this morning from your perspective and the impact that this particular drug is having and what we could do?
Well, as we know, the drug dealing is linked so much to a lot of the violence. So many of the homicides that we've seen this year have been in some way related to the drug trade. But what some people don't see is the toll it takes on children whose parents get addicted. And the drug is so highly addictive, and it's so accessible that it really is just destroying the family fabric. And we need more treatment opportunities. We need different kinds of treatment. One of the things we need to do is to get these parents out of the neighborhoods, because the crack dealers will come by and just say, hey, I'll give you some. You don't have to buy it, because they need the demand in order to do it. So we have got to find out what is it that is missing in parents' lives that that allows them to look to crack cocaine. We have got to stop that demand because the market forces are getting that supply in there. We need to go after the dealers. That's important to do. But the terrible thing is the toll it's taken on young kids as they see their parents go down the tubes, and then the young kids that are then getting drawn into the drug trade by the flash of the money. Those are things as a community we've got to be structuring the time of those kids and reaching out and engaging those kids in other areas, and we've got to try to reach their parents before they turn to drugs. And I feel very important that everyone who has a drug problem ought to have access to treatment if they want it.
Very good. And let me thank you over the last few seconds that we have here, Judge Andrew AShookoff and Mr. Earl Jordan. Let me thank the two of you for coming by and giving us that excellent information about the juvenile justice system of Nashville. And even though we only had a few minutes, I'm sure that our audience has a better idea about what they can do in order to assist you. And I'm almost certain that they will be encouraged to know that if they can get in touch with you, that you can provide some kind of public service labor, not only for them, to benefit them, but it will also benefit what you're doing. We certainly appreciate the two of you bringing us that information this morning. And let me, over these last 8 or 10 minutes, thank our audience this morning for being with us this morning and getting up as early to listen to what we have to say. And let me encourage them to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.